Well, on the upside, we are the last thing today.
Yeah. Hi, folks. Welcome to the stream. My name's Jemma Hooper. I will be hosting the stream on marketing your book. Apologies for the minor delay. We are at the end of the day, however, so we can get straight over into the stream, and we will get moving. So, just going to make sure that we have everything set up properly, and let's get going. I might need to just trim up one thing. Bear with me for a moment. This will take 30 seconds. We want that to be a little more, and setting up overlays at the last minute is a thing, and I apologise, but we're very nearly there. And we want a bit more width. There we go. And that should have it. Let's see what that looks like on screen. Yep, pretty close. All right, folks, welcome. Please welcome Sarah, aka Author Godess, and Travis, aka TravisTavernTalk Travis, who are going to be talking to us today about marketing your book. I am basically in a situation where I can hand over to them, but there's just one little thing. If you do have any questions, please type the text question, colon, and I have a question, or whatever your question is, and I have a bot that will pick that up, and I will then feed those questions through to our panel. So let's start with handing over to Author Godess, who can introduce herself, and then we'll hook in.
There we go. Unmute. Oh my gosh, every single stream. Hi, my name is Author Godess. I hope you're having a great CONduit. We have been doing excellent panels, and if this one is any indication, it is going to go over the 1 hour mark.
Crap, sorry.
You can...
Carry on. No, I had the... Yeah. Let's just move that over there. Done. Good. Carry on.
All right. You can find me at authorgoddess.com, or you can find me at Twitch/authorgoddess, and yeah, there we go.
Yep, we're good. No, carry on, please.
Oh, I'm done. I have introduced.
Travis.
Very good. I am Travis Sivart, author of many books such as the Portal series, Silver and Smith, and I have been self-publishing since 2012, as well as have other stuff published previous to that, but smaller things, not whole novels or whatnot. I do stream on twitch.tv/TravisTavernTalk if anybody wishes to join me there. And forgive me, there is some choppiness in the stream, so if I miss a question, bear with me and be patient, and I will catch up as we go. That's
all right.
That's my intro.
So today we were talking about marketing your book, which is a great topic. Lots of people have interest in that. Let's go ahead and start with the basics. Things that every author should have in marketing their book and kind of the 101 of what they need to do for marketing a book. So, Travis, if you want to go first.
Okay. Sure. Basics of marketing your book is finding your audience, I would say, is one of the first primary things. And this can be done in a lot of different ways. When you're smaller, first starting, reaching out to people personally, whether through social media, streaming, connecting through groups, forums, etc., is a great way to bring in initial folks. Now, beyond that and expanding beyond that, it goes in a dozen or more different directions very easily. But connecting with your audience when you're smaller, I think, is really key. Later, you could possibly rely on other things, but without knowing how to focus on your audience, it's hard to decide where to market and where to go to find new readers. So knowing your audience is of utmost importance. And being in the places where they are. I feel like that's the first primary move. Thoughts on that, Sarah?
Definitely. There are actually metrics that you can look at online for, if you are going for a younger audience, which social medias are better for that versus more middle-aged to older people. So if you can narrow down your demographic to, I always define it as your ideal target audience, because most of us can sell a book to anybody, anywhere. But, there's kind of the ideal audience that we have. And if you know who that is, then you know where you can find out where they are, and you can be there talking to them, making yourself known as a person who they want to get to know better. And one of the ways that they do that is buying your book. That is scientifically proven, by the way.
It's very true. Very true. Now, once you find the seed of your audience, where to go from there? I think this also very much matters on, now, Sarah, you already mentioned knowing which social media or where to go to reach out to people, because, of course, different target audiences use different social media. Beyond social media, we can look at advertising, which you can do pretty commonly through Google Ads, Amazon ads, Facebook ads, and all the different social medias will definitely take your money to advertise. What I've found personally is when going in for a new audience with somebody without a built-in audience, knowing how to focus on a genre, an age group, etc., it really helps, because when you do these targeted ads, they ask for that information. And building your audience out of a niche is quite often more effective than going broad spectrum, because think of it as fishing a pond instead of the ocean. Sure, a lot more fish in the ocean, but if you're fishing in a pond, you know what type of fish you're looking for, you can use the right bait. And the same thing for writing. You're fishing the right pond, you're going to pull in that niche audience, which is, I can't stress how important it is to get in there. And when interacting with your audience in these environments, keep in mind you want to be friendly, but not to the point of, this is going to sound hard, but they're not your friends. They don't want to know about your laundry and your cats. They might want to know that you have laundry and cats because you're human and they like that connection, but they're not your inner circle of friends. So be careful what you put out there. Make sure you understand that a public figure, they want them a little further away than in their living room. They want to think of you as somebody who's done this incredible thing. They want to enjoy your art, your work. So just display carefully your close stuff. Understand that can be difficult.
That is definitely true. You don't want you can let them know that you wear clothes, but don't tell them what kind of underwear you're buying.
Sure. Exactly. So what have you found most effective for marketing your books when you were starting out, Sarah?
I went to groups that are fandoms of books in the same kind of genre that I was writing in, whether they were like genre groups or, single author groups. And, particularly if I was also a fan of those books and or authors, then, just engaging in the discussions, not with the goal of selling anything, but with the goal of name recognition.
Right.
And I actually started this a couple years before I was published. And because of that, I did get a few really solid sales simply from the fact that people were like, oh, this person actually knows this genre. Let's give it a shot.
That's a great organic way to grow your audience. It's a great way to reach out and get to know them. I did something similar, but much more in person. As I started out, I wrote a lot of steampunk, and I went to steampunk conventions, was a guest speaker, hosted panels, and all this sort of thing. So I had this niche audience, this pond, if you will, and I was able to connect with them personally. And when you get that group behind you, that niche audience who's passionate about what you're writing about, they will help drive you and your popularity, your social posts, etc. They'll talk to their friends, and that one-on-one, or that 10-on-1 as it may be, or whatever, is so valuable, because now, well, I feel the best way for anybody to sell your book for you is to be passionate about it. And if they know you or have met you, they can speak with that passion, not only about the work, but about the author. And we sell ourselves as much as the book in the beginning. We're no Stephen King when we first start out, where it doesn't matter what our personality is. We know people are going to buy that book. Now, what about the next step beyond that, Sarah? What do you think beyond that first initial stage? Where do you go?
Well, okay, so after that, you have to have your pages. It doesn't matter what, social media networks you choose. You have to have your author pages, and they should be business pages, not personal pages. These are the things that people are going to look for. These are the, if somebody remembers your name, they're not going to look for you as a person. They're going to look for you as an author in order to buy your books. So you set up your pages. If it's within your budget at that point, you get your website ASAP. And then the last of the great trifecta, in my opinion, is a newsletter. Doesn't matter how many times you put it out. Doesn't matter, what the schedule is. You have a newsletter so that you always can contact the people, even if, Twitter or Facebook tank, you still have those contacts.
It's very true. Newsletters, and there is a discussion going on currently if newsletters are still viable because of how people ignore email now. But it still has a value. You have an audience that said, I am interested. Here's my contact information. I want to hear what you're doing. Now, constructing that newsletter is a whole separate topic that we could spend an hour on itself. But realize whether it's a newsletter, and I'm going to keep on flashing back to social media because as we grow, it becomes a very important tool. The balance between personal versus professional, I don't know about you, Sarah, but anytime I'm looking at somebody's Instagram or anything else, I don't want to see constant ads because I have other interests too. So showing a little bit of personality, a little bit of who you are, what your other interests are, can help bring those people together.
What's up?
But do make sure you're putting in those things about why they followed you in the first place. Your writing. It's super important. And most important is, besides showing my cats or, the places I go visit and an ad for my book, the process. If you can get a community behind you during your process, during your, I'm starting a new book, I've got this many pages or words. I've got this idea. And they get excited about it for you. And that helps you, as you're writing it, keep going because you've got this accountability and this passion behind you to fuel your own passion and interest in the project that you're working on.
Yeah. And let's not forget there is a very strong correlation between how much attention people pay to you during the entire process of you writing and publishing your book and how much they feel invested in it. They haven't actually done anything. It doesn't matter. They followed that. They feel invested in it. They're going to have a really strong desire to get that final product.
Definitely agree. And another tool you can use in your acknowledgments or dedication, mentioning your support group, whether it's I was on this Facebook group, or I had beta readers, or I have that one person who reads everything I write and gives me that critique back. This is a payoff for them. The book is the bottom line payoff. That's what they really want. But this other stuff, it shows value to what they've done along your journey as you go forward and create this incredible thing that you've done. Something else I'll throw in here about marketing. Writing a book is great. Doing a clean copy when you first put it out. Making sure you have a cover that's eye-catching and recognizable and pleasing. Make sure you have a font that can be read on that cover. Making sure you have a good editor. Because that cover, they'll pick it up, and that's your first your first marketing tool is your spine, your title. But once they pick it up, whether it's electronically or physically, looking at that cover makes them open it or read the blurb on the back. That blurb or that first page makes them keep reading. Your editing will make them buy the next book.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, I once heard this author who was sitting next to me at a convention, and he had 7 books on his table. I had 1 or 2 at that point. And he said, hey, to a new author who's asking things, if you can only afford an editor or cover, get the cover because the cover sells the book. And I didn't interrupt him, but I had that kind of feeling inside where I went, yeah, the cover sells the book, but your editing sells every book after that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the thing is, and this is kind of going on a tangent, but that's what we do, right?
It is.
There's a way to do marketing on a budget, and that includes, you can do exchanges. If you have enough skills to do editing, do not assume you can edit your own book. Instead, look for somebody else with the same skills and do a trade, because you have to have a second set of eyes. Your brain will mess with your head. Yes, your brain will mess with your head, and you will not see all of the errors. I guarantee this. This is a scientific fact. You can look it up. There's been so many studies done on it. It's the bear during the basketball game kind of thing. You will miss things because your brain refuses to acknowledge that it should be there. That it could possibly be there. And so your brain essentially corrects it for you. You need that extra pair of eyes to do that work. If you can barter for it, if you can do a trade-off, yeah, sure. You have a great author or a great editor, do some back and forth trading. If they're not actually an author as well, see if they can trade, maybe they will give you a discount for a free book or, whatever. Do what you can for that, but do not skip the editing. And covers are interesting because you do have to have something that looks professional. That does not mean you have to pay professional prices.
Correct.
And okay, so this book right here, SPA, I bought that cover. I'm going to drop the website name. It is self-published book covers. Self-publishing book covers, something like that, .com. They do pre-made covers. Each one is guaranteed to be unique. Yeah, there's some duds in there, but $65, I believe it was. not a bad price. You know, some covers can be upwards of $300. I think this one up here, which I absolutely adore, was like $70-$80. You know, so you can find good covers that look professional. They may not be exactly what you want, or, you know, something like that, and they may not be like, you know, done to order or things like that. But if you are willing to put in the time to look for them, you can find a good cover for a reasonable price that you can afford.
Absolutely. And we could spend a lot of time on this, but I'm not sure if we want to touch on this and move forward with other things in marketing, because I think we all remember those growing pains so well. And it's a basic, but going off the newsletter thing and building on that, your beta readers are a great resource for marketing because they have read your book before you release it when it's in a rough form. And if they enjoyed it as you polish it more, look into things such as when you are launching a street team, which is something I have only done for the first time recently. And this is a group of people who get advanced copies after you've edited, cleaned it. You send off the advanced copy, whether it's a paperback or an electronic copy in this day and age, is very viable for this. And these folks are going to read it before it releases, like shortly before it releases, so it's fresh in their head when it does release, to where they can put reviews up for you immediately and give feedback for people looking at your book for the first time, or you for the first time. And they're also going to do that footwork. The hardest part for me about marketing, and Sarah, jump in on this whenever you're ready, the hardest part for me is I love to write. I don't want to spend a lot of time going on social media and chasing ads and checking statistics. So getting those other folks who either invigorate you to do this, or in some lucky cases, do some of these things for you. Because time management as a writer, you got to do so much writing time, so much editing time, and then that marketing and shaking hands and kissing babies, probably not literally in the past year, but you know, moving forward with that, it's now a matter of grabbing those people who have supported you along the way and getting them excited all over again. And bringing that as that grassroots movement as you do the other things that are more professional with your ads and whatnot. Sarah, you got some thoughts on that one?
It's 100%. I mean, I remember a time when I was doing probably about 60 hours a week, and I wasn't doing any writing.
Yeah.
It was all marketing. And that was literally all I did with my time, was looking for marketing and, you know, engaging in marketing and doing posting and doing that. It was insane. And I ended up cutting. Oh yeah. You burn out so fast. Cause I mean, the thing that people don't tell you, especially if you're self-published or indie published, you are not just an author, you are a marketer. And anybody who tells you that traditional publishing is much different is lying. These days, a traditional publisher is not going to do the marketing for you. They may have additional resources. I personally adore the traditional publisher that I use. It's a medium-sized publisher that I use for my Runespells books. They are always giving you have discounts for this marketing opportunity, you have discounts for this marketing opportunity. I could not get those kind of discounts on my own, but they won't do it for me. And I don't blame them, because I mean, it's kind of a money losing model for them to do that for that many authors that may or may not recoup that loss. So, you have to do your own marketing. You have to figure out where your money's going to go, and you have to be able to chase down those interviews, the reviews. Oh my God, the reviews. Oh my God, the reviews. Reviews are your gold, okay? If you focus on nothing else, get reviews after you're published. Get the reviews. Get those reviews nailed down.
You mentioned interviews. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jemma.
Sorry, folks. Just wanted to quickly jump in. We do have a question in the queue that's been sitting there for a little while. Do you have any tips for overcoming imposter syndrome in order to effectively market? That's actually something that I find a really big challenge as well, is actually feeling entitled to actually put myself out there in front of people and say, hey, I can actually do the thing. Just trust me and go buy the thing that I've done because I'm good. Really hard.
Yeah. I have huge imposter syndrome. Like, I have actually had moments where I've cried because I had to put myself out there. But 100% fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
The imposter syndrome is something where you have to realize your own value. You have to build up your own confidence through small successes, and it's important to embrace those small successes. I wrote a chapter. I had one friend that loved the book. I had 20 people read it, and sure, only 4 got back to me, but 20 people said, I'm interested. The imposter syndrome is something we deal with all our life, and I've been doing this for nearly a decade, and there have been times earlier this year where I was like, maybe I'm just not. It happens. Allow yourself that moment to step back and take a breath, eat your ice cream, binge watch something, whatever you have to do, but get back in there. Realize your own worth, this hard work you put in there, and using the tools such as editors and beta readers and all these other things will help reinforce that you're not an imposter. You wrote this thing, you did this thing, and it has value to people. And you'll get that one review that says, this made a difference to me. Now, by the way, some people say don't read your reviews. It's a mixed bag on that one, because you get some people who will just throw up just a hurt and angry review that has nothing to do with you, and it's hard not to take that personally. But you can't. You have to realize, out of your reviews, this many are saying good things, and that one person said something nasty. And you have to allow yourself to focus on the positive. And that's hard in everyday life, let alone in any kind of creative outlet, such as writing or art or anything.
That is facts.
Yeah. Yeah, imposter syndrome in general, it's on us. And fake it till you make it is great, but work towards making it and giving yourself that value and that self-worth. Because nobody's going to magically appear one day and go, you're a writer. You have to fill those shoes, and you decide what size those shoes are. If you're expecting too much from yourself, shrink those shoes. Bring it in a little bit and realize you did this, and you're working towards doing the next thing or fixing the first thing or doing something better next time. Learn as you go. And then if you're still having a problem, go pick up a book that has been immensely popular that a lot of people just say horrible things about. Go pick up 50 Shades of Grey. Go pick up Twilight and read it and realize this is a simple, basic book that's not anything special, but it hit the right niche at the right time. And we have to allow ourselves to understand we do write a lot better, except for me when I'm talking, than some people that have a living doing this. And success almost never comes overnight. And if it does, be concerned. But a slow growth with your abilities, with your skill, is going to be so much more valuable, though a lot more frustrating, to your long-term success.
I did the masterclass thing with Neil Gaiman.
How was it?
And oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I don't think I've actually read anything by Neil Gaiman. I like the movies that are made from his books, but I don't recall ever actually reading anything by Neil Gaiman. But the thing is, the way he talks about writing, it's not about technique. It's about the way he talks about taking what you have and turning it into this thing is so inspirational. But one of the things, and I'm pretty sure he talks about it in his masterclass, I might have heard it somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure. He was at an event somewhere where they were like, it was like a whole celebration of like really awesome peoples. Dun, 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 TM. And he was like standing in the back, just sitting there going, why did I get invited to this place? This is Neil Gaiman, okay? Everybody on the planet knows who this guy is. And so he was sitting there, and he ended up talking to this guy who was like, yeah, I feel the same way. And Neil Gaiman's like, yeah, but you're Neil Armstrong. You went to the moon. And Neil Armstrong's like, yeah, but you're Neil Gaiman. And, it's those stories, whether I ever get over imposter syndrome or not, because I figure if Neil Gaiman can have imposter syndrome, I can go all the way with it. But yeah, if somebody like Neil Gaiman can feel that way, then I get to feel that way. And if somebody like Neil Gaiman can feel that way and still be successful, then I can't let that stand in my way of being successful. So, I have like this whole little package of things that I kind of keep in the back. And, every now and again I'll pull them out, and it's like, I need something to bring me back. I need something to pump me up. I need the inspiration. I need the feel good. I need the, crying because, there is hope for humanity, whatever it is, right? You have to have those things that you can pull out when you need them, because it's okay to break down once in a while. It's okay to just be like, I'm done for the day. I can't anymore. That's okay. But you also need a way to get over that so it doesn't turn into a week or a month or a year or 10 years or your entire life, and then you've never written that book and that now you're dying. You don't want to end up like that. You need to have that thing that will pull you back and remind you that even if for some ungodly reason, even if it's only worth it to yourself, it's still worth it.
I think that needs to be your first reader, yourself. With Neil Gaiman, with the Imposter Syndrome, this is what I was saying earlier. Allow yourself to step away for a short bit, as Sarah was saying. Now, here's what I will tell you. Keep writing. You can skip a day. Don't skip 2 days. Go write something the next day, even if it's just, I don't know what to write.
Unless you're on vacation. You can take your vacation.
But there is definitely times you have for yourself, is whether it's vacation or whether it's I need to take a break. Just remember, get back in there and start doing it again. This is how you build any skill set, whether you're a chef, whether you're a PhD in something, or whether you're a writer and you're doing this on the side because you love what you're doing and love what you're doing. But we're a bit off the marketing on that, because I think we would definitely encourage folks till we're done with the whole thing here. But Sarah, you mentioned interviews, and I'd love to talk about that, because this is a great way to find that small audience that's your seed to growing. And now on Twitch and so many other places, YouTube, etc., it's not that difficult to find somebody that would be happy to have somebody on to interview. Now, I do recommend have a completed book first. Even if you haven't published it yet, because then you have something to go, this is the thing. And that's very helpful when you're being interviewed, because you have the thing. Reaching out to these folks and interviewing, and if you're a streamer or a YouTuber on your own, again, that whole trade thing Sarah mentioned earlier with the editor, this can be done with other writers also, and bringing each other on and sharing each other's audience and base group. This also connects you with another writer, just like we're doing here tonight with each and every one of you. Mm-hmm. We're reaching out to you going, hey, we've got some knowledge, and what do we get out of it? Well, first of all, we get the joy of sharing what we've learned, which was a long, hard road, whether you've been doing it for a month or 20 years or more. And yeah, reach out to others. And there's even websites out there. I'm hearing about them now where you can go and sign up and they basically help connect people on a budget. might be a little difficult. Research these things, talk to people about things, see what worked for them, and then look at why it worked for them or didn't work for them. For example, Facebook ads, always been a waste of money for me. But I have other author friends who have done incredible with it. So maybe it's how I'm targeting, maybe it's my genre. It's worth investigating and not getting disheartened. Just understand there's a learning curve in everything you do. And marketing is a brand new hat, a brand new skill set above and beyond writing a beautiful book.
Yeah, and, it's important to realize that, I'm not going to be on Good Morning America. That's just... it's not impossible, but it is so incredibly unlikely that should not be my goal. Okay? But what you need to do is find somebody who is maybe not, where you want to end up, but a couple of steps above you in terms of being an author. And look for where they have done interviews, where they have marketed, and follow them, do not be afraid to contact podcasters, YouTubers, and the like. Just do it. Go ahead and do it. What's the worst they can do? Say no?
Yeah, and you'll be surprised how many say yes.
Well, most of them are sitting there going, thank goodness I don't have to find somebody to freaking interview this week.
Right.
Yeah, so there's also, so I kind of grew up in terms of book marketing on Facebook, so that kind of ends up being my thing. But groups on Facebook, hashtags on Twitter, find where the people that you are in, find your group, same kind of genre, same kind of level. You're not going for Stephen King. Don't go for Stephen King. That way lies disappointment. Nobody's going to take you seriously if you're like, I'm the next Stephen King. No. You have to prove that. But, find those people and talk to them. Be like, what's a good podcast? You don't have to tell them you're trying to get on it. Find a good podcast to listen to. Listen to a couple of episodes. Hey, they do interviews. Contact them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a quick question. Travis, you mentioned the phenomenon of finding, of books finding a right time, so to speak, for them to hit a market. Do you have any tips or tricks, or either of you, do you have any tips or tricks for actually finding that right moment? Because, if you ask the author of the example you gave was 50 Shades of Grey. If you ask them, is this the right right moment for this book to appear? Do you think they'd have really kind of honestly said, "Oh hell yeah, this is a book that the world needs right at this moment"?
There's absolutely no way to predict that. Absolutely no way. And the entire book marketing industry, the entire book publishing industry tries. And most of the time they miss.
What I will tell you is there's things to avoid. Researching your genre and realizing if it's oversaturated at that point. Writing the market is a big topic. And writing the market means going in and researching, seeing what's succeeding and why. Is it their book cover? Is it because they're no name? Is it because vampires are in this year? Is it because zombies are in this year? And I have one friend who started writing a book every other month. And his stuff took off. But he hit game lit or lit RPG right as it was taking off. He caught it. So, can you predict that? Well, you can't predict something is going to be successful before it starts having success. You can guess, but it is a guess at that point. But you can look at what market is flooded, and to throw in a book of that type, you might catch some popularity, you might catch some interest because people are looking for new content, but if it's flooded, it's flooded. Now, another argument a lot of authors or writers will give me is, well, you're selling out. If you're writing the market, you're not writing what you want. It's a matter of finding that middle ground where I'm passionate about this topic, this genre, this style, and people are interested in it, but it's not flooded. So there are ways to go research. But as Sarah said, well, I'm paraphrasing here, Sarah, forgive me for that one, but there's no guarantee. You can study the statistics, you can study the trends and go what is likely to have more oomph behind it and get a little more push behind it, but it's not a guarantee because there is always that perfect storm and right place, right time on top of talent or lack of talent for some authors that have been successful. Yeah, it's Ready Player One is a great example. This is a person who wrote their first book, and before it was done, he brought it to an agent and multiple agents, and they got into a bidding war about it. And before it was done, after they had an agent, the agent took it to movie studios, and movie studios got in a bidding war. Perfect storm. Perfect storm. And I've read the book. Good book. Not the best book. It feels like a first book. I don't know, Sarah, have you read this one? It's
Yeah, no, I haven't.
It's a fun book, but it feels like a first book. If you've read enough books, you'll be like, oh, this is not their 15th book. This is not their 5th book. So it can happen, but people win the lottery too. But a lot of people don't win the lottery, but they play it. But you can't give up for that. You have to continue forward because you love what you're doing. You're passionate about your art, your craft. And this is the whole enjoying the journey thing. This is what holds you over while you build your success and your readership and your audience.
Yeah. And, you know, the big thing you said about finding the balance, that's very important because, you know, one of the constant guiding stars that I use is if I like it, somebody else is going to like it because I'm not completely unique in the world. There's no way that I like something that nobody else likes. So I keep an eye on the market, but I don't necessarily write to market. But at the same time, I know what people are interested in. I know what I'm interested in. And I kind of keep both of those things in mind when I go forward.
Jemma, did you have a comment? I saw your mic flick.
I did have one very quick comment just to say with Suzanne Collins and the Hunger Games stuff, I actually think that was fairly predictable that took off because of the degree to which the audience that bought it was disaffected by hypercapitalism, by all the things we're seeing in the world right now. And I think it was kind of a canny choice to publish that series at that time. But I also think, you know, that I suspect you're probably right in that there are a lot of unknowns, and like you can act if you're connected to a particular generation and a particular audience, then yes, you might be able to kind of find a way to get that take off. But yeah, we actually have two other questions in queue. The first of those is, I'm great at talking to people in person, but making bad online connections. Bad at making online connections. In this world of social media that we live in, what would be your advice in making those online connections?
Great question. Sarah, do you want to start?
Do video. If you're better talking, then, you know, get yourself in front of a camera. If you can get a partner where, you know, you're like talking to somebody like this kind of situation, you know, I can look at Travis and Jemma and be like, hey, I'm talking to these people. You know, it's more conversational. It's like that. But we have the social media now to be able to promote ourselves through video. Video killed the radio star. You can kill, you know, the text-based marketing, I guess. You know, you'll still need it, but if you're better at talking, if you're better at being personable in a vocal way, embrace that. Go video.
And I'll add that be yourself first and foremost. Because if you're good at talking to people in person, it's because you're being you. You feel comfortable interacting one-on-one. Now, with the video thing, if it is a text-based thing, consider responding. Pick up your cell phone, record yourself responding to that post, and then transcribe what you said into that post. Use your punctuation, because as you pause, as you gesture, etc., use your writing skills to translate that, because you're a writer. You can do this. You can convey that emotion and that feeling and realize how dry text is, but as a writer, we overcome that in our stories. And we can do that within limits via social media, because we don't need to put up a 5-page reply to everything somebody sends.
Cool. That's a great response. And I think another thing I would mention, especially having been on the Streaming 101 panel earlier today, is Twitch streaming or TikTok. Those sorts of things are a great way to actually show people who you are and to connect with you as a person. And feeding into that comment about looking at video as a way of connecting with people, I can think of few platforms as powerful as Twitch for that particular sort of engagement, although I would also mention that Facebook now has its own streaming service, and there are others out there that are starting to emerge. So keep an eye out for that, figure out where your audience is, and go get them. The other question we have in queue is, if you have a published work, do you think doing an author visit at a small library, rural or suburban, is worth the time?
Absolutely. Sarah, do you want to expand on that, and I'll jump in afterwards?
As somebody who has done that, it is an excellent, almost completely free way to market your book. There are quite a few libraries where they have book fair days. And I know of 2 libraries that I visited on a regular basis that, they'd have 30 authors come in, set up tables, and sell books. That's what they did. They promoted it for us, and people actually sold books. So, it was literally gas money for me to go there. And, especially if you can look somebody in the eye and say, I live right down the street and you can buy my book. that has way more appeal than you can possibly imagine. So yeah, it's totally worth it. All it could possibly cost you is some gas money and some time.
A lot of people are looking for community and going to your local library or small bookstore or local coffee shop. I have one friend that has kind of a retro oddity shop that will host authors there. Joining that local community, going, I live in your neighborhood, or, 50 miles away, whatever. The library, first and foremost, is going to be excited about this. So absolutely approach them. And your local people, human beings seek community. It's a natural thing. So when you show up in your community going, I live here, some people buy your book just because of that. And hopefully they'll read it and then seek out more of your work. So it's absolutely worth that time. Definitely. That is, in my opinion, even if you only see 5 or 50 people that day, that is more valuable than shouting into the void of Twitter or a lot of other social medias.
One of the other places that I went to on a regular basis is I joined a local authors guild, and we essentially collectively had tables at a few cons and then at the state fair. And you would be amazed how many people are like, wait, there are people from this state who are writers and publishing now? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God. It's weird. Just the fact that we live in the same kind of collective makes them more interested in the books. So use it.
If we don't have another comment or question, I'd love to flick back to something that we were talking about earlier. Jemma, do you have something else, or can I go ahead?
No, by all means.
Okay.
I'm going to pop up a couple of chat messages just to highlight some things people have been saying, but by all means, carry on.
Very good. When it comes to writing to market, if you just love a genre or a topic that's flooded with the market and you don't feel like writing to anything else, write that book anyway and then put it away. Things trend, especially with something that's big and popular. Apocalyptic, vampires, zombies are three things that come to mind. A lot of your dystopian young adult, that's kind of faded, but give it 5 years, give it 10 years. That may come back. And if that book is in you, write that book. And if you publish it now, when that trend hits, figure out how to market it when the trend hits and catch that wave. Or sit on it, clean it up, and then when that trend hits again, look at it again, because your skill level will have changed and you'll do a full rewrite. You won't even I need to clean it. No, you will rewrite it, because I don't know about you, Sarah, but myself, every couple of years, I'm like, oh, my old stuff, I'm doing so much better now. And it's...
The funny thing is, we still have to sell those books. Those books that we wrote a couple years ago that were like, oh God, what was I thinking? We still have to sell those.
We do. And we look at them and we go, oh, maybe I should take them down. Maybe we shouldn't. And again, go pick out that ever popular author that did great with something that you wrote better than them. So there's a value to it.
Oh, the thing is, I absolutely love reading... Okay, I don't love it, but the old dime store books, you could get from the 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, you could find these books. These were traditionally published books. And if you read them, you're like, this book has never seen an editor, I can guarantee that. And it's fabulous and it's hilarious. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, if this person got published, surely I can.
Absolutely. There's some big name authors that I've read, and when going back and rereading, I'm like, wow, no, I put together a tighter story or a more interesting character or whatever, versus that author that had this level of success that all my nerd friends when growing up, we knew this author, we read this author. So don't give up on yourself is the bottom line.
Great advice.
Now, Sarah, before this, you mentioned you listed a handful of topics here that we can cover. Do you have another one on your list there?
I'm looking at the list. Okay, so, and there goes my washing machine. I'm doing laundry because I have underwear.
That's right. And I have cats. So between the two of us, we've covered all this stuff.
Yay. Okay, so we have marketing basics, the must-haves, budget marketing, and pipe dream marketing. So I'd say, do you have that one thing that if you have the budget to do, you're going to do it?
I have had that thought that if I won the lottery, because I'm going to write no matter what, even if I'm a millionaire or more, what would I do? So yeah, that pipe dream marketing for me is to get that team behind me. Now, I'm also against going and just paying for the top dollar person. I want that quality, but I want to bring people up with me. So creating a team with people who are experienced and know what they're doing, but bringing in new folks that want to grow with it is also very important to me. So it's this really unbalanced, balanced dichotomy, really. But then where I want the knowledgeable person is the person who knows marketing as opposed to the writing team. When it comes to the newsletters and the social media, I can work with folks who are growing. When it comes to where do you put your money when you're paying for an ad, that's where I want somebody with that experience. I want that accountant person who has 20 years plus of experience and has grown with our technology today and understands what is in my head from the 90s or before doesn't work or does work, but you've got to twist it this way. What about you, Sarah?
For me, the pipe dream is BookBub. If I could put every single one of my books on a BookBub, and each one would probably cost between $500 and $1,000 to do, I would totally do that.
That is my define BookBub a little for some folks who might not know what it is.
Okay, so BookBub is essentially it's a newsletter marketing system. But the thing is, they have so many people, and they have refined their markets down to the genre so well that if you can get a BookBub, because just because you can pay for it doesn't mean you get it. You apply for it. If you can get a BookBub, then you are pretty much guaranteed to make your return on investment several times over. And it has been known to take people from, this level of, sales to this level of sales permanently.
There we go. Something else to keep in mind then. It's something else I'll say about marketing is writing one book is great. Writing more than one book helps build. Because when you sell one book, you'll sell it to this many people. As you increase your books, your audience increases, and you sell exponentially. So if you have one and you sell 10 copies a month, if you have two, now it's 25. It's not 10 each. You've got some extra in there somehow. And if you have three, now you're selling 50 copies, or whatever the algorithm is. I'm not quoting exact numbers. Do not quote me on this one. But yeah, continue writing, continue creating, and continue that marketing. And as you build with multiple books, go back to that newsletter. And by the way, for newsletters, quick mention on marketing there, go find a dozen authors and follow their newsletter. Sign up for their newsletter. See what appeals to you. Sarah has mentioned it on social media posts and other things. Being you, putting yourself into what you're telling folks is so important. But of course, not a lot of folks are going to want 5 pages about your grocery shopping list. But to mention you were in the grocery store, met this interesting person, maybe that's a good story to put in there before you mention your book. Sarah?
I will say that particularly for romance genres and other genres, cozy romances or cozy mysteries are another one. If you happen to have recipes and integrate those into your stories, then people will totally eat up everything that you post about those recipes. And I mean everything. It is amazing.
You can also do that with travel. If you have certain places in your book that you've actually been in your newsletter or social media to feature those places and your experiences there, it's along the recipe line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing is people like to feel like they're part of an in-group, so name your group. And if you just name it like Sarah's People, that's not great. I will say that Sable has done an awesome job with hers, doing Sable's Privateers. It fits with the books that she's writing, and it's a clever, catchy name that makes people feel like they're actually a part of something, just by the name.
Agreed. And if you're not sure about what to do with that, go look at the groups that you joined and try to find out your logic or emotional impulse for joining that group and sticking with it. What kept you there? What kind of interaction? What kind of posts? Because a lot of times we don't realize we go and throw these things out there and we never look at what brings us someplace and what keeps us there. And this is all that wearing the other hats thing. Self-marketing is definitely difficult, especially since a lot of us creative folks aren't necessarily analytical in the same way that makes it easy to do the marketing. And also, a lot of us are introverts, so it's exhausting to interact with that many people for any length of time. And this is why that balance is important. There are things out there such as Hootsuite and other services where you can go for free initially and you can pay for more, where it will post to all your social medias at one time. You can enter a half dozen or a dozen, and you put up one post and it sends it out to all of them. This allows you to blanket market that way. And this is where I say be careful. Again, if you're only advertising, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, a lot of people will go, if I want commercials, I can get that anywhere. So throwing in that personal stuff also helps. Whatever your other interests are. The recipes is a great example right there, or the travel points. And make sure on any social media, you're responding to anybody that goes and posts. If they're taking the time to say, love it, make sure you take the time to go, thank you, or I really appreciate that. What you love about it, that sort of thing. Good.
Okay, so weirdest thing about my newsletters, because, people are always like, oh, newsletters don't do anything. Newsletters don't do anything. I started asking people questions in my newsletters. And more importantly, I gave them a link by which they can respond. Now, okay, so I send to 3,000 people and I get like 5 or 10 responses. But people are responding. Like, people literally send me an email. Yeah, for my summer vacation, this is what I'm doing. I hope you do, enjoy your summer. Because I was like, hey, what are you doing for the summer? This is what I'm doing for the summer. It's weird what people want to answer. Like, people want to share things with you, and there's really no reason you can't give them the opportunity to do so. Because the thing is, you have now asked a question, they respond, and you say, hey, that sounds great. I can't wait to hear more, or maybe you can tell me about it, or, something like that. You've just created a connection. You've created it. They think you're their best friend now. They will do anything for you. Okay, maybe not that far, but pretty
creating
close.
a super fan is a lost art, and that's how you start it, by just answering, just replying, just interacting, sometimes just following back. There's one author who I really enjoyed, Gail Carriger, and I remember when she followed me on Twitter, I screenshotted that, cropped it, and reposted it. It was such a delight for this author, who I like their work, to follow me back, showing some interest in what I'm doing. Even though she may or may not have ever read any of my posts at all, it happened, and I was pleased. So creating that super fan by just interacting, just doing what you would do if you were standing behind somebody in line anywhere and having that 30-second conversation. It really helps build.
Yeah. One thing I will say as a quick warning about that, though, parasocial relationships can go to dangerous places. I think we've all heard of, if not seen, the movie that Stephen King wrote on that theme. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Misery, that's the one. But that's increasingly becoming a thing on Twitch and Facebook, on those sorts of things. So don't be afraid to draw boundaries, folks. It's really important that you actually are able to do that when something gets a little too intense. Be able to say, look, I'm here to sell my book. I really like interacting with my fans, but there's a point where my life is my life and I just need to be me and do my thing. So I'd strongly recommend keeping an awareness of that, especially if you're streaming in online places, that sort of thing. But yeah, we have one final question, and I think if you can answer this, then we'll all get rich very quickly indeed. But the question is, how do you get your book in front of the right audience? I mean, I would guess that knowing what the right audience is would be a start.
Yeah, that would be the problem, actually. How do you get your book in front of the right audience? You get your book in front of as many audiences as possible and hope one of them is the right one.
This also stems back to where we started. This circles back to the beginning of our conversation here. And if you're saying I'm writing sci-fi, it's a huge audience. This is where you're going to, as Sarah just said. On the other hand, if you're writing steampunk romance horror, now you have a very small niche audience, and that might be easier to focus in on. But yeah, first and foremost, know what audience you're aiming for, and know what audience will like your book. Because sometimes what you're aiming for is not the people that you realize will like what you're writing or want to read what you're writing. So it is quite often trial and error until you have that base built.
Yeah. There was, for those introverts who don't like doing a lot of reaching out and stuff, I have a spreadsheet. I named it the spreadsheet. It is the spreadsheet. It is everything that I need for my books. Every single bio that I will need is on that spreadsheet. I don't write a bio every time. I copy paste it. I don't write the little blurb for my books every time. I copy paste it. I have everything, it's all there. The little blurb that I would put with my Twitch, my Twitch URL, follow me on Twitch, whatever. I have it written out. I copy paste it. That way, I at least don't have to think of the right way to word it in a way that's exciting and stuff every single time, because that is exhausting. If I'm doing a review, I have a book coming out, I'm looking for reviews. I got my list of bloggers. Yes, you can find those online, by the way. I have a list of bloggers. I create a template for people, for the email that I'm sending out, because most of them are looking for the same information. I just have to trim it down to be specific. I don't have to do all of that work every time. I don't have to think about the word phrasing. I don't have to, because if you're like me, you sit there and you go, yeah, but does that sound right? But what if they read it like this? You don't have to do that every time. You decide on the right one, you go forward with it. You don't have to do it every time. Make those shortcuts for yourself. Keep it simple. If you don't have to show people that you're, thinking on your feet every time, then don't do it. Don't put in that kind of emotional energy every time. You'll wear yourself out.
Yeah, when marketing is exhaustive and exhausting, having these pre-prepared things, and it might have been what you put out from your last book or your last project, and it's reworded slightly. It's a Mad Libs of advertising, and you want to change it up a little bit, so they're like, wait a minute, the only thing different here is the title. But yeah, having these things, and when you put something out on social media, if you're getting a good response, go look at it and put it into your own spreadsheet. Keep that around for the next time, and realize you only have to change a handful of things in it to make it brand new and apply to the next thing, and save yourself that mental exhaustion of marketing.
And bonus, you become consistent across all of your marketing. And consistency cannot be underrated, because, repetition is literally how you sell books. Repetition and familiarity. But, the more people see the exact same thing, the more they kind of want it. Right. Seriously.
And it reinforces, and this is a proven marketing technique. Look at any jingle logo and all that stuff across the big brands, and you'll see it there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one final question that I'm going to throw at you. There are a lot of people out there who will promise you lots and lots of views on social media, lots of readers, all of those sorts of things, and many of them are going to be scams. But some of them may actually be legit and could actually be good for your career and your overall marketing efforts. How do you tell which is which?
If somebody is promising you readers, they're lying. Nobody can make other people read, especially if they're doing it for free. If you are paying somebody to read, then you can almost certainly guarantee it. But if you're not, you can never guarantee it. I guarantee that. For views, that one can be tricky. The one thing that I will say is list builders. And this applies primarily, but not exclusively, to newsletters, where the general idea is that you and a group of other writers, usually of the same genre, get together and you work as a collective to gather people in for a giveaway. And as a result of signing up for this giveaway, they are given the opportunity, if they are forced to, it is a scam, but they are given the opportunity to join your newsletter. And you can, especially if it's one that a lot of other writers are recommending, then you can pretty much trust it. You can get a lot of people signed up for your newsletter. Major issue is that if you aren't exactly what they're looking for, they might leave right away. And if you have enough of those people, then you might get in trouble with your newsletter hosting site. But, those are things that you need to learn as you're developing your newsletter. But and that goes into developing the newsletter stuff. Those are things that are worth it. Honestly, though, if you have anybody, I would say outside of Kirkus or maybe 2 or 3 others that are similar like that, promising you reviews, they're probably lying. Most people cannot afford to pay people to read and review your book, and that is the only way to guarantee that thing. There's a few places where they have really good results at encouraging people to leave reviews, but they will be very explicit in saying that they don't guarantee results. So, 90% of anybody guaranteeing anything like that is going to be a scam.
Good answer.
I don't think I have much to add to that, so I'll just leave it there.
Okay. All right. Well, we're getting pretty close to an hour in from when we actually got started with the session. So, last comments. Are there any final words of wisdom to give our audience and our fellow writers?
I would have to say, just keep in mind that you can either be a writer as a profession or a writer as a hobbyist. If you're going to be a writer as a profession, you're also going to be marketing, period. End of story.
Cool. Thank you.
I'll say, remember to take those breaks when you need them. It takes a lot of energy to write a book. It takes a lot of energy to market a book. It takes a lot of energy to do all these things, and allow yourself that even the ocean has tides that come and go. You're allowed those too. Don't be too hard on yourself if you have to take a break.
Yeah, self-care.
Cool. Well, thank you both. This has been a really fascinating panel, and you've clearly both done a lot of really good work in this area, and I really appreciate your perspectives. And I'm sure everyone else does here as well. Thank you all to the audience for hanging in with us while we got the stream set up. Thank you for those who provided questions. Folks, as a quick reminder, this is the last panel of today's streams, but we will be back tomorrow or later today, depending on where you're at. And we look forward to having you all back. If you have any questions to our panelists, please do feel free to jump into the Discord rooms that I think it's the Discord panel room, Sable. Or actually, you can probably answer this, Sarah.
We are in room 1.
Yeah. So it's okay for people to jump into panel 1 chat with questions for in your own time responses, yeah? Cool.
Or just, tag us in, specifically.
Yeah. And of course, you can follow both of our lovely panelists. Sarah is at https://twitch.tv author Godess. Actually, let me just... hang on. Author Godess, and Travis, you're on Twitch as well, using the Travis... I think you're muted there.
Yeah, I muted myself. Sorry about that. Yes, twitch.tv/TravisTavernTalk.
Twitch.
Oh, and don't you have a new podcast?
Me?
Yes.
I have 2 podcasts that come out every week. I'm up to 60 episodes on a Write Night and then Talk of the Tavern, which is not writer-oriented, just a little more relaxed and fun.
Cool.
And those come out every week, and they're on, pretty much all the services.
Nice. Folks, we will have a bit of an ongoing chill and chat session from 4 p.m. UTC, which will be tomorrow for most of us. Please feel free to jump in there, get to know some of your fellow writers, and to all the streamers today who've contributed their time and their care in setting up their overlays and all of the process of wrangling a stream. I just want to say thank you all. You've done a great job. From our admin team, is there anything else we wanted to add?
Hope to see you again tomorrow, or I believe it's 13 hours and change in the future. Whether your time zone includes a tomorrow in that or not. We have excellent panels. I personally think we've had excellent panels today, and we will be continuing that tomorrow. So make sure you follow your stream hosts. So in this case, StoryGirl. Follow StoryGirl. And support our stream hosts and follow our panelists and et cetera. Give us all the love, because we all go home and cry because we feel useless and we're not Neil Gaiman.
Even though we want to be. But, okay, yeah. So on a personal note, thank you to everyone who's followed the stream and followed my channel. Thank you to the amazing admins who have put on an awesome first day. And thank you, everyone who's turned out and supported the stream, supported our panelists. Make sure you go and follow our panelists on Twitch if you can, and that's pretty much where we will wrap up for tonight. So tomorrow we have another full schedule, a full day of content. You will see the panels come up fairly shortly on that. If you've got any final questions about any of the content, please make sure that you jump into the Discord rooms and make sure that you get your questions out there, because we all want to have our questions answered. And I guess at that point, we will leave you all tomorrow. Oh, sorry. Go.
Really quick, I would like to point out that one of the first panels that we have going on tomorrow is Finding Your Online Community, which is pretty directly related to what we've been talking about here.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you all. We will wind up the stream at that point. But if you do have any questions, like I said, please feel free to jump in to the Discord and start engaging with these incredible panelists and writers and the amazing admin team. Please make sure you go and thank them for all their incredible efforts to get this whole program together, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you, Jemma. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for everybody who joined in.
Thank you. It's been an excellent discussion.
Thanks, folks.